Hi everyone, it's Hatsy and I'm back with another build video, and this time we are going to be building the Salvatore boarding house from the Vampire Diaries. So this has been one of the most requested things on the channel since the Vampire pack came out, and I thought I really want to have a go with it because I think it's such a pretty house. I have to say though, before I got about anything else, it's probably a lot easier to build it in The Sims 3 because there are so many floors in this build that are just different heights, and it's difficult to do in The Sims 4 because we can't have like split heights, split levels and things like that. I wish that we could. I wish that they'd add that because it would be so helpful for old builds like this. And another thing is, I really want wooden beams. I've only just sort of thought of that. Okay, well, I've thought about it for a while, but it was really strange. I woke up about 2:30, I think a few nights ago, and I thought, I would really like some wooden beams in The Sims 4. And I couldn't think about anything else. I couldn't get back to sleep. So anyway, I was thinking about what to talk about during this build, and there's not really a lot I can say apart from the fact that I started doing the interior first, which is very unusual for me because I usually do the exterior, but with this build, I wanted to make sure that the layout looked pretty accurate. I think I had to make one of the rooms, I think it's the back room, like the big grand ballroom, I think I had to make that diagonal instead of straight on. I have no idea how it works. I think what's happened is parts of the show have sort of used special effects for the build, but then that's messed it up because it's actually a real house, or it's like a real sort of place. I don't know if it's a hotel or, you know, what it is actually in real life, but that's an issue because it has a proper floor plan and the floor plan doesn't make any sense. So yes. The other thing is, I would have needed a much bigger plot to actually make all these rooms, so we only have 64x64. So I try my best. It's not going to be 100%, but it is inspired. I say that for every build though. So anyway, I actually stopped watching the Vampire Diaries, I think at about season 5 or 6. I don't want to give too much away because obviously I'm not one to spoil programs. That's just mean, but I thought I'd talk about it because why not? I'm actually going to start watching it again after building this because it made me realise how much I've actually really missed it, and there were some reasons why I stopped. But I think it may be interesting because sometimes when I don't like programs, I sometimes like to find out why other people stop watching them or like what they think about it, so I thought I would just give you my opinion of it. So basically, I loved the series. I loved every single one of the episodes and I was obsessed, but there were 3 things that really wound me up to the point where I was just like, I can't cope. I can't carry on anymore. I know it's going to be really difficult for people to hear that, especially if you're a massive fan of something, but still, I think it's pretty interesting, and I want to be honest as well. I don't want to just sit here and think, oh my goodness, I'm like its biggest fan and I watch everything and I've watched it all the way through. I don't want to be that person. I want to tell you the truth, and the truth is I stopped watching it. So reason number 1 was the fact that I was getting very attached to characters, very attached to the point where sometimes, occasionally, I may shed a tear, like I actually might. So I was there just watching the program and getting a little bit emotional at scenes when characters would pass away. And then about a week later, for no real explained reason, okay, well sometimes the reason was explained, they would just reappear like nothing happened. Whether it is, I don't know, somebody's found some sort of loophole to bring them back, or maybe they weren't really dead, or just, it was crazy. And I know it's a supernatural program, but that really wound me up because I got sort of used to the idea that the character was gone. But then what happened was I found myself saying to myself, don't worry, they're coming back. Just wait a week. And I'd wait a week and hey, what do you know? They'd be back. So that was one thing. The second thing was the fact that I kind of felt the same way about love in the Vampire Diaries. Okay, true love in general. This is just me. I find it very difficult to relate to people that can spend so long together and they can still remain friends afterwards. Again, not ruining anything because I don't want to mention any names. However, if you're a fan of the show, then you'll probably know exactly what I'm going on about. I am somebody that's very bitter after a breakup. I'm a nice person, but if somebody splits up with me, I probably wouldn't want to be friends with them, and even worse, I probably wouldn't want to see them in a relationship around me. I'm just not like that. I'm sorry, but I'm not. I wish I was. I wish I was the most forgiving person ever, but I'm just not. So I found it a little bit crazy, and how everything just seemed a little bit too incestuous. I think that's a word. I think that sounds really dodgy but it got to the point where everybody was going out with everyone else. And I think the best way that I can describe this situation is the fact that in England, we have soaps on television, and there's one particular soap that I don't watch anymore called Coronation Street. I think pretty much everybody in England's probably heard of Coronation Street. It's well known. I think pretty much everybody has dated everybody else on the street, and that's kind of how I started to feel about the Vampire Diaries. The best friend seeing the brother and this and that, and it just got too much. So that's my thoughts. That is honestly my opinion, but again, I think it's more important for me to just be honest. Yeah, there's basically a character on Coronation Street that I think you can pretty much get a checklist of everybody under the age of 25. Yeah, he's dated them. And it was very funny. It got to the point where I was just like, yeah, this is more like musical chairs. And again, with the Vampire Diaries, that's how I started to feel this. So more like musical chairs than anything else. And I think that a lot of programs make this mistake where a character will date so many people, pretty much everybody on the show. So point number 3 was the fact that when the originals came about, I was obsessed. I was absolutely obsessed because the Vampire Diaries in general, so again, no spoilers, I'm just giving you the basic plot. It was a nice storyline. It was a girl who's had a lot of things happen to her, finds somebody that she loves, finds true love with a vampire. That's the basic plot of it. I think if you watch the first 10 seconds, you'll probably get that of season 1, episode 1. I'm not really telling you anything new. I think everyone knows that. And if you've seen this build on the Vampire Diaries, then you probably know that. So this is the thing. That's the basic plot, and then it starts to thicken from there. Like, there's drama, there's stuff that they've got to sort out, little town antics going off. There's some crazy stuff. However, this is the thing. So I was distracted with that for a while, and then all of a sudden, they came up with a genius plot about the originals, because that's amazing. That is actually amazing. The fact that they've now started to incorporate, or they did start to incorporate at the time, original vampires who are 2,000 years old, I think, who have a massive amount of history. There's lots of people after them. They've made loads of mistakes. And I have to say, I can relate more to the originals than I can with the Vampire Diaries, because I am also somebody that wants to live a normal life, and people keep coming back from the past and taking a jab at me. I feel like that. And that was the bit that I really related to the most with the originals, because I get that too. It was interesting, but I followed the originals more than I did with the Vampire Diaries, and then I digressed away from that. Digressed or diverse, I don't know. But yeah, the originals, incredible. I am in love with it. And I think I'm going to build the Michaelson's house. So if you want to see that, then let me know, because I would very happily build that, especially after this. But of course, interior first, because I would have to bring out the interior of the Salvatore boarding house before I start bringing out any of the builds. Just getting that sorted out the way first. I think it's great what they've got going on there, because they've got the person that's in charge that's got all this crazy power. Then they've got his brother, who is aggressive, intelligent, but also incredibly polite. So he's the kind of vampire that if he was to murder somebody, he'd probably apologise for it, which I just thought was so funny that they incorporated someone like that into it. It's great. Anyway, I thought, apart from mentioning about the Vampire Diaries, I wanted to go for my hater story. I think it's pretty appropriate, because probably a lot of people are going to hate this commentary, because I've spoken about why I stopped watching it. But I hope people don't take offence, because I didn't mean it in an offensive way. So, I went to the Sims Meetup. For anyone that doesn't know what the Sims Meetup is basically an event, or it was an event because it stopped going now. That's the last year that they're ever doing it. Well, it was a group of people that really loved The Sims that organised it, and they rented this massive place to meet up in. People paid for tickets, and loads of people turned up. So you would maybe meet The Sims Resource. That's like a custom content website, which I had no idea actually is a proper business. I didn't realise. I just thought it was a website. I don't know. But you would meet I don't know, Twitter fan pages, merchandise, people that sell Sim stuff online for a living and stuff like that. So it was pretty interesting. We also had some YouTube panels, but I think that to be on a YouTube panel, you needed over 100,000 subscribers. I don't know, but I had like 65,000 at the time, and I didn't get asked. And there were people there that had just under 100,000, so I think that they turned them down. I have no idea how it worked, but I wasn't on one. So what that meant was a lot of people didn't recognise me by the way that I looked. People just recognised either my voice, or if I tweeted that I was in a certain area, people come and meet me, or if someone told somebody else that I was there, then they'd come over and introduce themselves. So I think in total, I met about 20 people. But after the event, people were like messaging me and saying, oh, I wish I got to see you because I was at the event as well and I watched your videos and I just wish that I'd have seen you. But I was there. Honestly, I was there. Okay, well, yeah, 20 people came over to me, just like introduced themselves roughly. That's just a rough estimate. I didn't have a line or anything, but what would happen is someone would come over and then we'd take some pictures, and then someone else would realise that someone was taking pictures with me, then think, oh, I wonder who that is, then make the connection and then come over. So that was happening. So obviously I'm not going to tell you the straightforward story. I'm going to change some of the details because I don't want anybody getting offended by this story, because one of my subscribers did come over and introduce themselves and I don't want to embarrass anyone. So there I was, standing in the middle of this huge place, massive, absolutely massive. And someone comes over to me after I just tweeted and they said, oh my gosh, I always watch your videos. And it was a guy, he had two friends, again, changing some details. So the guy came over and he was talking about my Let's Plays and stuff and telling me like which ones he enjoyed and what he wants me to add, etc., giving me some ideas. We took, I think, a couple of pictures and I think I might have signed his keyboard mat or something. So after that, he turns around to his friends and they look really blank, just like waiting for it to be over. They kind of had looks on their faces like they were waiting for a doctor's appointment or something. That's the best way that I can describe it. You know, if you really don't want to be somewhere and you're just sort of waiting to pass time, it was that. And they were just sort of looking around awkwardly as their friend was talking to me. So he turns around and he says, it's Hatsy, do you want to take a picture with her? And the girls both look at each other. They open their eyes really widely, and it's that sort of look that you give each other at school, like schoolgirls do. If you've openly discussed something in private and then the situation comes up, you sort of give each other the wide-eyed look. Yeah, they did that. And then one of them laughed, like burst out laughing and said, ha 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 ha, no. Just like that. Like a solid no. Okay, so I wasn't too offended because there were many things going through my head at this point. Because I was thinking, well, what if they just hate Sims? What if they're just here because of the friend? Just for moral support, you know? Maybe they just don't even like the Sims. So I was trying to convince myself that that was the reason. I kept telling myself, it's okay. Don't worry, they don't hate you. It's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. But it wasn't okay. And do you know why it wasn't okay? Because after the very awkward ha 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 no, after the 20 seconds of standing there, I was just feeling so awkward. I just got out my phone in the end and I just started like looking through Twitter and stuff, just checking social media, because I did not know what to say to these people and I was faced right in front of them. After all that, I went to sit back at the table and I was talking to, I think, a few of the people that I was sat with. And I was explaining the situation. They said the same. They said, maybe they just don't like The Sims. So I was thinking, yeah, maybe they just don't like The Sims. And as I was saying that to myself, they go and they meet Deligracy. And I heard them from the other side of the room. And do you know what they said? They said, oh my gosh, we are so excited to meet you. We are like your #1 fans. Well, my face just dropped and I have absolutely nothing against the situation. I genuinely don't. Because the thing is, of course you're going to meet people that are going to like one person's videos and not the other, and vice versa. You know, that's going to happen. And I'm quite an opinionated person. It's going to happen. I'm going to meet people that aren't going to like me. I always tell myself this. I think my dad told me this as a child. That was a shock for me. However, this was that situation. So yeah, that was really crazy. It wasn't someone coming over to me and just giving me hatred and saying that they don't like me or stuff. It was just a very awkward laugh, an awkward look, and then they said no. There were just so many things that they could have said instead of just ha ha ha, no. So many things, but they didn't. But it doesn't matter because whatever, it's a funny story to tell, and that's why I've told it. I'm not telling you because I want people to go out and go on a witch hunt. I'm telling you because I found it actually quite funny, and that's why I said it laughing, because it's funny. That's just my sense of humour though. I find this stuff funny. It's funny how it happens to me though, don't you think? The first event that I ever go to, that happens. But let me know in the comments, how would you have reacted to that situation? Honestly, because that's really interesting to know how other people would have reacted to that. And obviously be sensible. Don't just say, oh my goodness, I would have gone crazy. If you wouldn't have gone crazy, don't say that you'd have gone crazy. Because in the moment, everything's different. So yeah, apart from that though, I had some very funny things happen at the Simmers meetup. I think I've mentioned this before, but this is honestly one of the most hysterical things I think that I can tell you. And to be honest, you might not even find it that hysterical, but I really do. And I think I may have told it before, so I'm sorry if I have told it before. But basically, what happened was I was sat at a table. This was the aftermath. Like, this was when I went to the Manchester food hall with a few of my friends. Well, there were more people that turned up to this food hall meeting than I thought. Molly and Steph and a few others knew a lot of people at the meetup, but I didn't know hardly any. So I just sort of followed them to this Manchester food hall because I wanted to eat with my friends. And what happened was I ended up sitting at a table with people that I didn't know that well and getting a little bit separated from the people that I did know. So there I was just eating my Mexican food in this food court. Why is that relevant? I have no idea. But it was Mexican food, I was eating it, and I was sat there and I saw the guy in front of me. He was checking his phone and I looked up and he looked up and he said to me, and I think it was like in a Liverpudlian accent, which makes it twice as funny. Why does a Liverpudlian accent make it twice as funny? I have no idea. But I was laughing hysterically. He looks up and he says to me, I know who you are. That is a terrible, terrible impersonation. And before I can even reply, he says to me, you're hasty, aren't you? Hasty! I'm hasty! Not Hatsy! No, I'm hasty. Well, I laughed all the way home. I laughed in the middle of the night. I laughed the next day, the next week, the next month. I am still laughing now. That is the funniest thing that anyone's ever said to me. Why is it that funny? I can't tell you. I think it's just because my name's Hatsy, or I call myself Hattie or Hatsy. To call me hasty is just a completely different kettle of fish, completely. So I discussed this with James, my husband, and we were talking about it, and I said, what is the meaning of this situation? And he said, well, this is the thing, because if somebody's watched your channel for more than 10 seconds, they will know that your name is Hatsy. So he can't have watched a single one of my videos, or he's watched them all on mute, which is worse, in my opinion. So yeah, that's what happened. Because of course, when I introduce myself, I say, hi everyone, it's Hatsy. But should I start saying hasty for a bit of a joke? I don't know. But yeah, that made me laugh so much. So anyway, that is the end of the build. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you all for the interior. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you all soon.